What's up, party people? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be recounting my experience working at Rainbow's End. So if you're keen to hear me blab on for the next 10-20 minutes, just stay tuned. Alright, so first off I'm going to talk about how I got the job. So technically it was kind of an accident, because basically what happened is I had applied for like an admin role, and then they basically called me up and found out I was really like underqualified. But then the lady was like, we have some roles coming out for like in our front line, like customer service, would you be interested? And this was July 2020, so I had been looking for like a job for a couple months at this point, and I hadn't really had much luck. And even though initially I didn't really want to go back into hospitality, like I was kind of done with, you know, fast food, I was like, okay, I'll do it. Why not? I go to the interview on Friday, and I remember this was a really quick process because it was literally like 2 days before the school holidays. And then yeah, I had my interview. It was really basic. It was probably the easiest interview I've ever done, honestly. So basically it was a group interview, and there was about maybe like 10 other people, and so we went into the room and we basically got introduced to like the CEO, a couple supervisors and managers, and then we just had to do one of those group exercises, like you're stuck on a desert island and you know you got to number these items in order of importance or something like that. And yeah, that's pretty basic. We just had to like go to the front, introduce ourselves, and then after that we kind of individually just had like a 5-10 minute quick interview. And yeah, basically they just ask you, you know, like why do you want to work here, like what are your availability, and yeah, basically I had a ton of, you know, fast food and like hospitality retail experience, so I was, if anything, overqualified for the job. And yeah, basically I think the following day I was hired, and then I started that Monday. So literally I had my interview on Friday, and then I started work like 3 days later. So overall it was a very quick process. I think on the website they tell you that you need to apply like 5 or 6 weeks before the school holidays or something, which isn't really the case. So yeah, I would say if you're keen to apply, just do it. And the best times to get a job are probably before the school holidays or before the summer holidays, because those is like the peak season. In terms of my actual role, so I was hired in the catering department, and basically how the park works is there's a variety of different departments. So for example, there's catering, which is like just, you know, food and beverage, and then they have attractions, obviously like, you know, operating the rides, and then they also have image making, which is basically just like a glamorized name for cleaning, and then there's just like cashiers, like, you know, being at the front gates, and I think there's also entertainment as well, so like people that dress up and, you know, like entertain like the kids and, you know, go on the stage and all that. So yeah, there's a variety of different roles. So when you say like you work at Rainbow's End, it could really mean any of those things. So now I guess I'll just talk a bit about my responsibilities quickly. So being in catering, it was like very broad, the amount of stuff I had to do. I basically worked at a variety of different places, doing all sorts of things from, you know, taking orders to making coffees, making food, like cleaning and like wiping tables and, you know, all that. So yeah, it was a big variety of things, which I quite enjoyed because I liked the variety and I like doing a ton of different stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's basically my role. Pretty basic. I'll just go into the pros and cons now. So I have a list on my phone, which is why I'm looking down. So number one pro is that it's pretty easy to get. Like I said, the job, I literally did like maybe 5-10 minute like one-on-one interview, and they pretty much, all they really wanted to know was that you were available, because I think they were just so short-staffed at the time. So yeah, relative to other jobs, it's definitely a pretty easy role to get, because they just hire a ton of casuals. Number two is just the variety of things that you're doing, especially in catering. You get to work like at different shops and different food stalls, so you could be doing anything from making candy floss to making coffee, you know, making food. And yeah, I just feel like if it's your first job, it's definitely kind of a good exposure to lots of different things, because you can pick up lots of new skills. Next is the new customers. Personally, I've worked at stores, like smaller stores, where the same people are constantly coming every day, and like, you know, you often see people like from school or people that you know. So I feel like working at Rainbow's End, since I don't live like right in that area, I barely ever saw anyone that I knew, which I don't know, I like that. I don't like seeing people that I know. So yeah, it's kind of a random one. But the next pro I put is just the vibes. For the most part, I feel like it's pretty good vibes. Like the managers are pretty chill. The people that I work with were pretty cool. Like they hired a lot of students and young people, so I feel like it's fairly easy to make friends. And yeah, there's just constantly like very high turnover, so you're getting to meet a lot of new people, and yeah, everyone's kind of like young in the same boat, so it's pretty easy to get along. Also, I feel like you work pretty closely with other people, like especially in catering. You're often with 3 or 4 other people in very close quarters, so you do become like very close, and you can talk to other people, so you know, it's pretty fun in that sense. Another pro is the flexible hours. So I was hired as a casual, and I think this job was probably my favorite just in terms of like how the scheduling worked. Basically every month you'd get sent this availability form, so you could change your hours every month, and you could, like some weeks you could work, you know, 1 or 2 days, and then if you're on holiday you could work like 3 or 4 days, just depending on like when and where you wanted basically. So that was really good. So it was quite flexible. And even though I was a casual, like I feel like they didn't really just randomly text me. Like it happened once or twice, but I've had other jobs where I was a casual and then I'd often get texts being like, hey, can you work today? Can you work tomorrow? Like all sorts of, you know, just these kind of things, where at Rainbow's End that didn't really happen. I basically just filled in my availability, and that was that and that just dictated the roster. So I knew like a month beforehand which days I'd be getting off. And the last pro is just kind of like the free food and drinks. So technically we weren't really allowed to be getting free food and drinks, but I feel like the culture today was so chill, and everyone would always just make their own food and make their own drinks. So, you know, if you were on break, like you could basically make yourself a coffee, make yourself, you know, some food, and it was like very chill. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And every now and then, like if you're doing closing shifts, sometimes you'd get to take like the leftover food as well, like from the cabinet and the cafes home with you. Okay, now moving into the cons. So number 1 was just how tiring it was being in catering. Of course, you know, you're on your feet all day. It's often very busy, and especially during peak times. Like I mostly work, you know, during weekends and school holidays, and because of that, the way the shift rostering works, there was just a bunch of casuals all the time, and like it was good for us because it was flexible, but then you can imagine from a like scheduling point of view, it's very hard not knowing how much or how many staff you're gonna have like from day to day. So often we would be like understaffed, and you'd basically just have to take on like the role of 2 or 3 people, and you know, sometimes not get breaks for like 3-4 hours, so that definitely wasn't fun. Another one is the low pay. This is pretty standard. Like, you know, it's hospitality, it's fast food, you know, you get minimum wage, and you can't really get more than that unless you take on like a supervisor role, but you kind of have to work like full-time hours to do that. So I guess just the lack of like progression from a career point of view. Another con, I guess, is the shift cancellation. So personally, I don't really care about this because I wasn't one to complain like if I got called off, because, you know, I didn't really need the money, but it did get annoying because often like it could be 3 or 4 hours before you're meant to work, and then they'll literally text you being like, hey, your shift is cancelled. This would happen more frequently in winter and when I had later start times. So I used to be rostered to start at 12 o'clock, like midday, and then if it was a rainy day or, you know, really windy, they basically just text you saying, hey, your shift is cancelled. Because the way it works is like, obviously being a theme park, they're really affected by the weather. So if it's raining or if it's windy, all the rides are closed, and they're just, you know, there's no one there, so they can just cancel like your shift pretty easily. And I guess the last con is just the traffic. So the location of Rainbow's End, it's basically in the heart of like South Auckland. So if you're working weekdays especially, it's really bad. And it's because I kind of lived far from like I don't live super close, so often it would take me like 30-40 minutes just to get there and back, and surrounding traffic is just terrible. And there's also a staff car park, which is kind of annoying because it's all the way behind like the theme park, so you gotta drive all the way back and, you know, just struggle to find the park. And yeah, the whole just kind of commuting situation just wasn't ideal, and that was kind of a factor in me resigning as well. But yeah, that was basically my experience. To be honest, I didn't really hate the job. Like I thought it was a decent job, especially I think if you are young and you're in school, like as a part-time job it's pretty good, especially if you live close. You know, you get to learn a bunch of new skills and meet a bunch of cool people, and you also get free entry into the park, which I kind of regret because I never really took advantage of. But yeah, if you work there, definitely like, you know, go in on your days off, or like go on the rides and make the most of it. So yeah, anyways, that's it for today's video. If you have any further questions, please feel free to comment down below, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. If you're someone I used to work with and you're watching this, hi, yeah, no, like, good vibes. I have like no hate towards anyone that I worked with or Rainbows Inn in general. I mostly just resigned because I'm moving house, so I'm kind of gonna live far away, and yeah, I just wanted a break. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sure.